Got it. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Doug Houston here for our September 28th board meeting for our Irvine International Academy. In a moment, we'll take roll call with board members and confirm we have a quorum and get started. Thanks again for the patience, everybody. I was driving back from a wedding ceremony and it was something I couldn't avoid today. So thank you for that grace. Let's see, let's start with roll call with our board, starting with myself, Doug Houston, board chair. Could I hear from Glenn Rogers? Are you present?
Yeah, Glenn Rogers present.
Thank you. And Ethan Kay?
Ethan Kay is present.
Oh, thank you. Edward Watson?
Edward Watson, I'm here.
Thank you. And I'm just scanning through because I want to see, that gives us our quorum, but I just want to see if I've missed a board member. Any board members I missed at this time? Okay, we do have our quorum, and so we'll continue on. Our first order of business will be public comments, and will be slightly different this board meeting than prior. What I'll say is this, our public comments tonight will be verbal. We won't be using the chat. You can indicate that you'd like to speak, and then Mary Beth will help us just stay on time. We allot 3 minutes per speaker, and when we get to 3 minutes, we may just let you know your time is coming to an end. Any of the comments that relate to board agenda items we'll discuss as the board when those come up, not replying to you immediately. So don't worry if you're a parent or someone. Secondly, if it's an issue that's not spawned because it wasn't agendized, and that's not fair to others who didn't know the topic would come up. However, we will record it. We're recording all parent questions, comments, and inquiries, and we track those now. And so we will get to yours at the appropriate time, either the next board meeting or directly back to you. Great. With that in mind, let's open up for public comments. If you'd like to share a public comment, could you turn your microphone on and indicate your name? And take turns, and if we step on each other's toes a little bit, be patient. We'll give each a chance who desires. Who'd like to be first for public comments?
I'd like to speak. My name is Lynn Huang.
Thank you, Lynn. Would you please continue?
Yes, this goes back to the same question that I asked the board 2 meetings ago regarding notification of COVID positive children or possible positive children. How is the school notification process? Is there first an email blast or a contact to all the parents in the entire school? And then if you get a follow-up, then that means your child was in close proximity contact to the infected child or person. I just want to get clarification because I have not heard or seen an email or have the board addressed that question on the last meeting as well.
Thank you, Lynn. We'll note that and follow up. Appreciate it. Who'd like to be next? Would you turn your microphone on, please, and just acknowledge your name, and then we'll have you be next.
I want to say something. My name is Anna.
Oh, thank you, Anna. Please continue.
Okay, sorry. Okay, first, I really want to thank the teachers for all their hard work. They're really getting by with very little resources, not much help. They don't really, a lot of the teachers don't have aides. Not much funding. So I really just want to give a lot of praise to the teachers who are working really hard. I have a concern, which is we get a lot of emails about music equipment that the school has received. And I understand that some of these equipment is coming from grants. And, I know that Dr. Scott is so proud of this. But I guess my comment is that instead of applying for grants for music and dance, I'd like to focus our grant effort on just grants for education. And so that we can actually provide the teachers with the resources to teach our kids. I really don't think the school needs that many keyboards and pianos and ballet bars, because honestly, like we sent our kids here to learn Mandarin and not to sing and dance. So, the teachers really need iPads, Chromebooks, and aids to help them so our kids can learn. They don't need all this music equipment. I get that he's super proud of it. And I know that Dr. Scott keeps talking about how you need to learn music in order to understand music, in order to learn another language. But I could speak 3 languages and I didn't need to learn music for it. I just wanted to emphasize that we sent our kids to this school to learn Mandarin, English, math, and science. We did not send them here for music and dance.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Who'd like to be next? Would you indicate that by stating your name?
Hi, I'm Jen Cho. Can I go next? I should.
Hello, Jen.
Hi. Well, first off, I want to say that my kids, you can see in the picture over here, and my parents had a wonderful time at the Mid-Autumn Festival. They thought, I was like, especially since we've only been, I don't even know how long in school so far, like I was very impressed that so many things came together. They love the line dancing. Alexandra, did you like performing? Want to say? They can't see it yet. You have to get closer. Huh? Whoa. Did you like performing? Yeah. We'll think about it. But yeah, my in-laws also had a very good time. And I thought it was great. It was all outdoors, but still, like, I feel like we felt very safe, and most folks had masks on, and yeah, it just felt like a great community building event. And I feel like also showed how IIA is also like bringing in Chinese culture and bringing these traditions to enable our kids to experience that. So I was really excited. Yeah, and like I missed the line dance performance because I was volunteering with the teacher, but my parents said that they were really good. I'm also really, my kids in Miss Gashti's class. Yeah, we were excited that she was selected and she was willing to be the COVID safety officer. She's great with rule following in the classroom. So we assume that applies to all of our school-wide things as well. And I also really like that we have the COVID dashboard on the website, which looks like it follows IOSD format. And sorry, my kids are screaming in the background. So yeah, so I think that's all great. The thing that I wanted to also follow up on is just the transparency in terms of board documents that we talked about from last meeting. I just wanted to know, when we could get an update on that in terms of bylaws, in terms of finances, and budget. I know that, yeah, I know that some things have been updated around COVID. And so like, yeah, it'd be great to get an update on when the other things will be updated as well.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Who'd like to be next? It looks like Edwin's microphone's on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Doug. So I just wanted to ask, last month I did bring up some concerns I had related to COVID, but really it was more specifically towards Mr. Scott's role. I have emailed the board several times since last time. And I guess my question right now is just, I don't know what the bylaws are for the board and or IIA. I don't know what the chain of command is. The reason I brought up my concerns last time to the board was because my understanding was possibly the board was the group that possibly held people accountable, such as Mr. Scott and the principal and so forth. That was my understanding. I might be wrong, but that's my question here. Last time I did bring up the concerns about Mr. Scott's personal opinions affecting the school. I feel like I ended up being personally targeted and possibly attacked about 10 days ago when Mr. Scott allowed an email to go out with my name on it. In retrospect, it was answering a question that I had, but it was very confusing because the night before, I actually received that same email twice from Mr. Scott, so I didn't understand the reason to send it out to everybody. I think I saw the CC list include everybody, the board, the teachers. The only one it didn't include was the principal, which I don't understand, but I just feel like that was highly unprofessional. My concern is still about what's the procedure, who holds him accountable, who holds the one who sent out the email accountable. In the end, obviously, I'm still talking to you. I don't want us to be silenced as parents. We are all here for the same reason as some of the other parents just mentioned. And then I noticed, and you had mentioned about the chat. I know last time some of the parents, we were able to connect because of the chat in this function. And not having that right now concerns me a little bit as well. Today, I realized that that this board meeting was not announced as it was before. I didn't locate it on the website and had started sharing it, and eventually it was posted on the Facebook group. But I know there's a class dojo that the principal has mentioned using as a main platform of communication. So maybe we can use that, but I just don't want it to be something where we're trying to locate it for this board meeting, because I do think this is important for the parents to hear from the board, hear what's going on, maybe add some comments and concerns. So yeah, so if you could mention that, that would be great. Just looking for bylaws and just what's the procedure. Thank you.
Thank you, Edwin. And that was a carryover on bylaws from the last time. And so I have a task to create the website. So I'll personally respond to the two that need the bylaws sooner. Sorry about that. We're doing something longer term with the website accountability. Who'd like to be next? Would you indicate by turning your microphone on and sharing your name?
Hi, I'd like to speak something. I'd like to say something. My name is Ann Mai. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I don't attend the board meeting often. I know I only have 3 minutes. First, I want to thank for everyone created this school. My kids love it. I mean, we come from a private school, other than not paying the big lump sum of money to the private school. The structure, the academic and everything I see so far, you guys are working really hard. I don't know about that one email that sent out. I didn't even look at who got CC on. I just read the content. So I'm not sure what kind of privacy that's got proposed other than the email, but I think by now, every teachers, everybody knows my email through Class Dojo and WeChat and Facebook, and my kids are in school. So, by now I think everybody know me. I'm Ann Mai. So I really appreciate all the efforts. I mean, I can see it. I can really see and appreciate that. And needless to say, a great thank you. And regarding the COVID, I know the kids, my kids didn't go to private school ever since last July in person. And the school is doing a great job. They follow the law, indoor face mask, outdoor, you don't need to. So the kids can breathe some fresh air. And besides, all this, I mean, it's been a 12 months, right? 12 months and more, and they've been in person. There's no incident, nobody got sick, nothing. So I think from my experience, parents can kind of relax. The kids has really robust immunity, and by playing outside, getting vitamin D, and be happy. I think that will fight the so-called virus around us. And I have not seen a kid that really got sick, and something, knock on wood, nothing happened to them. I know a parent that got sick. They have like 4 kids. Miraculously, only the parents and the oldest kid got sick, and the younger one somehow immune. So, and they live in the same family. So from that experience, I know that, kids are robust. I don't think we need to freak out. And I know IUSD say that if you play outdoor, you don't have to wear a mask. But somehow my daughter said the teacher forced them to wear a mask outdoor. So I don't understand why some teacher want them to, not to breathe the fresh air and have fun outdoor. So that's something I just want to express. Let's not freak out, because my kids been going in person for more than a year, including summer. The private school has summer classes. We both working parents, we love it because they're in school and we don't have to but we can't work when they are at home. They've been bugging us. We can't do the teacher's job. That's why we have teachers. We send them to school. And I'm very happy to have IIA. It's a smooth transition. A lot of things that they do is very close to what they've been learning in the private school. So I really appreciate, it's great timing on my part and your part, I think. So that's all I'm gonna say. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne-Mai. Thank you. Who'd like to be next? By the way, acknowledge as we get ready for the next one for Mary Beth too. Board member Brett Freeman joined us some time ago, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Who'd like to be next?
I can go next. This is Perry. As a parent of a 4th grader, and I've volunteered numerous times in the class, I feel like the 4th grade class also needs help with the TA area, and kind of to reiterate what someone said earlier, that it's nice to have the music and the dance, but if it's not kind of on the foundation of the learning Mandarin and learning the educational piece, it does feel like like we're kind of doing it the wrong way around if we're so focused on the music and the dance part. But we've heard, previously, I understand that TK and kindergarten need help, given their numbers. But 4th grade curriculum does seem like, it should be equally as important, and they do need help in there, from what I can tell, just from observation as well. And I've been trying to get parent volunteers to go in, but we can't kind of depend on that, because there's probably going to be different experiences with parent volunteers as well. So seems like it's important to have kind of teaching aids through, probably 4th grade and other levels as well.
Thank you, Perry. Thank you. By the way, just for all parents, thank you. We have a great representation from parents in public tonight. It's amazing, actually. So thank you. We'll hear from the next one. Just so you know, for our minutes, and with each who raises a question or a topic or shares something, we will debrief on these as well. We record all of your comments, and I'm taking personal notes too. Who'd like to be next?
Hey, Doug, can I go?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is Steve. It's my monthly comment. I've been a part of quite a few boards in my life, and I think the most successful boards that I've been part of, they've had a good amount of representation from the people that the board serves. So this includes being part of a regional center board in which we had like 50% of our board was composed of people with developmental disabilities that were served by the regional center. I was with a board for that helped people with developmental disabilities, and every single board member was a parent of someone with a developmental disability. Been part of a board for a health clinic. Again, we agreed that as part of that service, everyone had to get services rendered at the health clinic. So I think there's a real value to having people really bought into the vision of the nonprofits and really have firsthand knowledge of kind of what's being done at the ground level and how to improve services. as such, I've talked to a few of the board members here, and I really appreciate those conversations. Doug, you invited me to input in terms of parent concern, had some talks with Ethan, had a talk with Edward as well. And I think in many of the cases, we agreed that, it serves the board best, it serves the school best if we really draw more from people that live in Irvine, of people that really reflect the people that we're trying to serve at the school. So parents, people of Chinese, Taiwanese descent, people that speak the language, that appreciate the culture. And so I really am hoping that we move more and more into that direction as we move forward. As part of this, we would really appreciate some transparency, looking into the bylaws of the board, knowing what's the deal with, how do you nominate someone? What are the terms of each of the positions, all that kind of thing. So really just transparency, and as well, just a board that more reflects the population served at IIA.
Thank you, Dr. Steve, and without going into comments, 2 thumbs up. Wonderful. Who I'd like to be next? Thank you. I know not everybody will speak, obviously, but I don't want to miss anybody either. Who'd like to be next?
Can I go next?
Is that Tung?
Yeah, Tong Yong.
Yes, please. Would you continue? And I think after that, there's at least one other, Thomas, maybe the next in line.
Okay,
Please
this is yes. My name is Tong Yong McNally. This is a clarifying question for the board members. I'd like to know how many board members are elected, how many board members were appointed. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. I'll answer that in an email. And I believe what will be practical is I'll provide the bylaws to everyone, at least a link to everyone who wants to read them. We store them on a shared website and drive, and it's no problem. Sorry, while we were building the website to do the total transparency the way the school in Northern California does, that's a longer process, but we'll get you right away the link to the bylaws on that. Thank you, Tongyun. Next, I thought I might have seen, if I weren't mistaken, Thomas, were you wanting to comment? Perhaps not. I'll just open it up then to whoever would like to be next. Would you just unmute and share your name, please? Give a little more time just in case for technology, and if not, I'll forecast our next board item. Okay. Next board item is closed session. We don't always do closed session. It's reserved for just certain topics. Tonight we have a closed session. It relates to an issue in anticipation of litigation, fancy terms. If we think someone's raised an issue that could be a legal one, the board will discuss that in closed session. As soon as we're done, we'll report out what action we may have come to. And I anticipate this won't be a long conversation, probably 5 minutes, could go as long as 7, but parents, public, you'll get a chance to take a little bit of a break. While we form into a Zoom group. I'll ask for some help from Principal Chung and Mary Beth, and we'll be back with everybody in 5 to 7 minutes. May take a moment, by the way. Principal Chung, you were always so good with this technology and forming our little room, but we've passed that on to Mary Beth, so you may have to coach her unless, I know she did it for us last time, so we'll just be patient and give her a chance to form that. Here we go. We'll be back, everybody.
Hey, everybody else.
Pointing fingers. That's
Oh, there we go. Thank you for everyone's patience. Reporting out of our closed session, we had a discussion regarding an anticipation of potential litigation. And what we moved to do in response to a parent letter that raised some significant issues, and on advice of our counsel, we've decided to engage a third-party investigator, one of the three provided by Young, Mini, and Core, to conduct a 1-month investigation that could be summarized by the board publicly next meeting. And the issue seems significant, but they sent around about 5 different topics. And the cost will be approximately $7,500. And we've appointed Brett Freeman to be the key contact with the investigator that is ultimately chosen, because even as chairman, one of the topics that came up involves me. And so we thought it'd be better to have Brett be the interface with the investigator.
oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, somebody shouted a little bit. They okay? Okay, good. Great, moving on then. We're gonna have the Pledge of Allegiance, and if you would like to join me, I will lead out. Some have flags in their offices, but I'm going to cover my heart, and I'll lead out at the pledge. Would you follow me? And ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I love that last part. Thank you, everybody. Now I'd like to get from a board member. We've all had opportunity to review minutes from last meeting. Would someone move to approve those minutes?
Doug, I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. And a second, please, after Glenn Rogers.
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Edward. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, minutes approved. We're privileged now to get a brief update from Dr. Scott. I think he has about 3 really neat, significant things happening in the life of the school that he wants to share. And I heard one parent allude to one of the traditional or traditions that we were able to participate in on the weekend. Dr. Scott, we're ready for your report if you're ready. Unmute for a moment, if you would, please.
Doug, should we be waiting about the awards for gifts that we've received? Will that be a different one?
Your choice. People have been very generous in significant ways with us, and we want to do it in a honoring and proper way because of the scope and size of the gifts. And so I'll defer to you. If you think it's better, because we're likely to have an in-person meeting next month, we could do it next month.
Okay. We have quite a few people now that have actually given gifts to the school. So we can recognize 3 today. And then at the next one, we'll be able to hand out some certificates for a dozen other families that have given to the school.
Wonderful.
So I'd like to begin with a award that we're presenting to the K Family Foundation. And on it, it says that visionaries affirm the vast potential of the future by freeing the eyes of our children to see life's possibilities and wonders. This represents a $140,000 gift towards the work that we're doing in our STEAM science program. And it's been utilized already to begin setting up our STEAM program. So we want to thank the foundation for this wonderful gift to the school to help our students become the next generation of scientists, engineers, doctors, and lawyers. But whatever needs to be done, our kids by 8th grade will be tremendously educated in science, well-rounded in many aspects. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Kay. Family Foundation. It's pretty wonderful. Wow.
And then we have 2 other awards. By the way, the K Family Foundation will receive one of the eye templates on our dragon on the wall, honoring them. And we hope we'll have more to add to that list. This here is representing a gift of more than $50,000 that was received by the school. It came completely unbeknownst to us through the Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation. We were surprised to receive it, but very pleased because it gave the opportunity for the school to provide musical instruments for the children and to save our parents money as they develop them for music. Our after-school music program is an enrichment choice that parents choose, and we're very proud of our students. We had one boy just the other day come from China, his first day in school, saw the pianos, sat down and played wonderfully, and he's going to be getting even private lessons. So for those that want to do the music, we thank the Hogue Foundation. It also was intended to provide fencing and security for the school. We're still working on that process, but we're fighting a city bureaucracy right now, but we're not going to stop. But this is very much appreciated, $50,000, and they will have a red scale representing that gift on the dragon wall. We have one more. Oh, by the way, what's written on that award is leadership designs the stairways for children to achieve their highest aspirations. Doug, there's one more. Did you want to do this one or shall I just speak it?
Well, I will do that one. Oftentimes people give multiple gifts in a short period of time that add up to one of our major levels. And that's happened with our own superintendent, Dr. Michael Scott. His gifts from himself and his wife now have totaled over $50,000. We knew several years ago you were committed to the concept and the idea of this school, but thank you for not just the gifts that come in cash form to be used by our school, but also the early years preparing to have a charter school in the first place. And so thank you, Dr. Scott. I want to invite board members if they have any comments or questions on these gifts. We're following the policy to honor each giver at their varying levels and applying their gifts as desired. But board members, any comments for Dr. Scott? He's got a couple other updates, but feel free to chime in at this time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I want to report on the parent-teacher organization and their success. I'm sure everybody watching today attended Saturday's ceremony and celebration, which I didn't realize was the second most important celebration, the moon celebration. So thank you. They did a wonderful job, had wonderful groups of kids performing. I know a parent mentioned that already, but it showed the unity for the purpose of the school, the tremendous commitment that our families have made to begin this work. And the PTO has worked hard behind the scenes in a way that we couldn't have done as a school to make our school a wonderful foundation to begin. And I urge all parents to join as part of that group.
How many were able to come out and participate on Saturday?
I'm going to have to guess over 300 people. The lawn was full. I didn't realize what that size group, it could have easily been 400. I'm afraid I don't know exactly, but it was extremely large. I also would like to talk on an important topic for our families. Last year, Prop 39 is a process that begins November 1st. And our request for a facility must be turned in by November 1st, or literally we don't have a roof over our head. It was very difficult last year because the signatures I had gathered from around the city over 2 years were mainly dismissed by Irvine Unified School District. They wrote many times, you're only going to have 30 people. And of course, our families surprised them with way over 300. So we've had tremendous response. And as a result of your activism, the school was granted this site that I have to compliment Irvine now. They've updated it, they've painted, they've repaired, and they constantly maintain. This is a yearly project. It has to be done every year. And our teachers have sent down home the parent signature form to show that they want to come back next year. This year, it's easy. We're right in the class, take this home, parents sign it, bring it back, and I'll have 300 names in hand of already students at the school. But I just wanted to urge the importance. It's a yearly process, and it's so important that our parents participate. I'll be beginning to account for all the signatures, all the grade levels, which schools you would have attended. It's a very in-depth process, a lot of math, which I happen to enjoy. So we begin that in October to be sure that we're done. It'll take 2 weeks, and then we'll turn it in again. Please help us with that. I'd like to jump in a minute. I have one more things to share, but I'm really glad Parisha Guesty, our kindergarten teacher, who has a master's in public health, I've invited her to speak briefly about the progress that we've made on our COVID safety at the school. There is a COVID button on the website, and you can see we modeled it after Irvine's version, indicating we've had 0 COVID. We're proud of that, but we're more proud of the protocols and procedures that were created by our parents and carried out by Parisha to do everything within our ability to do to prevent COVID from touching our school. And we're glad that it's working out. Before I get to her though, I need to just go ahead and share one more vision. We have made it a month and a half, almost 2 months now, and it's amazing. There's been a lot of growth, a lot of stretching. I think I've got a few stretch marks myself now to match my wife with her 8 children. But we had a different vision at first. We wanted to have a 90-10 school, but it wasn't pragmatic to do it and approach the Irvine School District Board and be passed. They just couldn't understand the concept of 90% in Mandarin and 10% English. So we changed it to a 50-50 approach, which was more acceptable, similar to what their Spanish programs were. Our kindergarten is really the base that keeps growing. As we had such a huge kindergarten response, and next year, we even taking signatures now for 5-year-olds next year through the enrollment paper that was sent home. But we're gonna take the children and grow them. So I wish I had 5,000 more to give every month. I've given 50,000 over the last 4 years on a retired teacher's salary. I'm real proud of that. But I'm looking forward to the other parents who can come up and support our schools so we can even do more. I've heard mention about classroom aids. Those are all money issues for us. We have one of the smallest budgets available because of our high property values of Irvine. Irvine and Irvine International Academy both suffer from low income. So I hope people will come alongside and join. We also, I want to point out, is we are a STEAM school. It's right there in the first paragraph of our petition. And that grant that I did work hard for on the Edison Initiative is to promote that. And we're beginning that part with our teachers. We chose to do science in Mandarin because 935 patents were in English from America, and 925 patents were from China in Chinese. And if our students are going to be advancing in science, they need to know where all those other ones are. So our Mandarin teachers have really worked hard to get started, and now we're expanding in our STEAM program. In 8 years, they're going to do great. There was an MIT study that said children below the age of 10 and below can learn Mandarin fluently. And we love that study. I saw my 19-year-old become fluent in Mandarin after living 8 years in China in immersion. But I know this school is going to far exceed what he ever learned because the children are starting off so well. Okay, but half of it is English, which works in our favor differently. Because English and math are state tested in English, our children will have a lot of strength, where the normal beginning Mandarin programs don't do as well at that beginning. So we're trying to work on getting the support materials necessary. Okay, now, Harisha, please share about yourself and what you're accomplishing. And it's amazing every time I turn around how much she's done.
Good evening, all parents, my parents, and the board members. Thank you so much for having me. I have been working behind the scenes hard. Beth, Stephen can all attest to this. I took course. I hope that you all understand that first, I am a teacher. So I will try to respond to everyone's concerns, everyone's emails as quickly as I possibly can. But my job first at IIA will always be teaching my kindergarten class and my TK class. So that will always be important to me. But the safety as a school in general will always be a top priority as well. I have a background that comes from the medical field as well as the public health field. So I do have a master's in public health. I was right there in the emergency room at St. Jude Medical Center, working with patients of all different diversity backgrounds and working with doctors and nurses pre-pandemic, right before the pandemic, and during the measles outbreak a couple of years ago. So I understand everyone's concern about safety and keeping everyone safe and healthy. I've worked in numerous school districts. I've worked for OCDE. I've worked with OCDE, nonprofits and everything. So I know exactly what we need to do to make sure that we follow protocol. And I sent home a letter, I believe Monday, and I hope everyone was able to read it. And I did state it is our sole responsibility to make sure that we are following mandates and guidelines at federal, state, and local level. And that is what I will push. I know there's been some concerns of students, faculty, staff. I am a stickler for rules, just like one of my parents said. So respect is the number one thing in my classroom. So we are going to respect each other, our friends, our families, and our school. So I will make sure that every child will try to respect our school rules. Every faculty member and staff member will respect the protocol. And I will make sure that I'm right there handing somebody a mask if they do not have one. But please, 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 please remember that I am a teacher first. So I will always put education first, but safety will always be a priority for everyone else under my care so far. But there's a lot of stuff happening. I'm working with PTO's COVID committee to make sure that PTO is aware of what's going on. They've given me great resources. They're going to keep me up to date. So everybody on that COVID PTO safety committee, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting everyone who attended. I hope to have an open door policy. So if anybody has questions or concerns, you can come see me. There is a specific email directly related to COVID issues. So you can email safety@irvineia.org to contact me directly. I'm the only one with that email. If there's anything wrong or if you see something that needs to be brought to my attention, feel free to email that. Try not to email my teacher email because I get bombarded. I still have 64 students and 64 parents to deal with. So I don't want to lose something in my email train if it's truly important and deals with the safety of everyone at school. So thank you, Dr. Scott. Thank you to all the board members. It was a pleasure. I will stay on just in case.
Board members or Michael, any follow-up other than I'd like to give special thanks for taking on the extra duty and sharing your past skill set at such an important time. Board members, any other comments for Ms. Geschke?
I echo those comments. I thank you so much for your willingness to get involved here. I know it's on the minds of all the parents and the board members, all the stakeholders of the school. So thank you for both your support as a teacher and as the COVID safety officer.
I echo that, Doug, very much. Thank you much.
It is my pleasure.
Great. Thank you, Glenn, Brett, for echoing that too. Thank you again, Ms. Geschke. Michael, for the any more from your update as the superintendent?
Not at this time. Thanks for your patience.
Well, this was wonderful. Thank you. Well, we're going to move forward with business and fiscal update. And I'll ask Ethan Kay, who is part of our board that is on that committee, to share some updates. We've had committee meetings and our committee meeting, and then also work on the budget. But thank you, Ethan.
Thank you, Chairman Doug. So my name is Ethan Kay. I'm the chair for the finance committee for this year. There's been a couple new developments in advancement of the finance committee. So number one is, as an overview, is the budget has been, I believe, Delano, it's going to be approved.
Correct.
It'll be presented to the board. We went through it. Just want to say it's good news, bar any catastrophes. It looks like the school is going to be in good shape for this year and as well as subsequent years. We went through some analysis and like to report it again. It sounds like it's going to be financially okay. Also, like to again, we will be. I'm going to be chairing this finance committee for this fiscal year. Also, we are. I'll be working with the PTO to identify an additional candidate from the PTO as a parent. So I will be working with Shishang and then identify candidates and then eventually present them to the board for approval. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Delano.
Awesome. Thank you, Ethan. And just to sort of piggyback some of what he mentioned. So the Finance Committee did meet last Tuesday. And as Ethan mentioned, we did go over the budget and actually worked on a few items to tweak it, to get it, to where we were comfortable. That's first and foremost considering. And again, as I've always mentioned, a school in its first year, there's so many unknowns here that, we have to be, exercise all due caution, while at the same time, we must, the parents and I hear the talk earlier this evening, there's a lot of commitment here and a lot of support from the parents. I hear it. They believe in the school, and we want to make sure that we put our best foot forward in terms of providing transparency, providing information, not only just to the board, but also to the other stakeholders as well within the community. Because were it not for them, I don't think that the school would exist. I'll dive a little bit into the Finance Committee, and I digress a little bit before I get into the August financials. The Finance Committee, I believe, meets once per month. Is it the second Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month? I can't remember exactly which Tuesday it is.
Tuesday before the board meeting.
Tuesday before the board meeting, excuse me. So that may be the third Tuesday of each month. Thank you. And so, there is a lot that will come via the finance committee, obviously back to the board and also back to the general public as well. So we're just getting started. I'm excited to be working with such a great group of folks. And again, it's one of those things where I'm excited to be part of something new in this endeavor here. And I certainly look forward to working with Glenn and under Ethan's leadership in terms of being the finance chair. Mary Beth, if you could please, can I share my screen really quick? We'll take a really quick look at some of the August financials. And again, most of this was shared with the board last Tuesday. We'll do a quick review and we'll talk about the budget, etc. Because I can't see you while I'm looking at this, I will just ask if everyone can see my screen, and I'll look for someone to say yes.
Yep.
Is that a yes? Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Board President. I will certainly look to you for my cues. We're looking at the year-to-date financials through, and this is an income statement here, through August 31st. As you can see here, very little grants and donations during that time frame. As we mentioned before, obviously, the school started in July, so obviously there were salaries and benefits as a result. 58,000 certificated salaries, another 60,000 classified salaries. Differentiating here, certificated salaries are your administration, your teachers, etc. Your classified salaries are more akin to your classroom aides, your office support staff, things like that, your instructional aides, playground support, lunch staff, clerical support would fall into that category, just to give you a little context when we talk about certificated versus classified. Benefits to the tune of 30,000 through August 31. Total personnel expenses of about 150,000. Again, you will start to see this ramp up as we get into the September financials, the October financials, etc. Because by then we'll have a full complement of staff in place. What you're looking at here is really a month and a half of staff per se, and not necessarily a full complement of a full month of activity on the payroll side. School has been busy. As you can see here, lots of curriculum being ordered. This speaks to activity in terms of the school coming to life, as you can see here. So you can see textbooks, tech equipment, things like that. Health and safety supplies. Someone mentioned something about COVID earlier, and the need for testing and taking precautions. As you can see here, the school does take that seriously. Again, we have some after-school materials and supplies to support the after-school program. Give you a couple of quick highlights here in terms of professional fees, insurance, facilities, lease, etc. Total services and operating expenditures, 120,127. Small an amount here for long-term debt, and this is again for the board's privy here. This is the amount that it costs to borrow from charter schools capital. Again, as I mentioned, only just about 150,000 in revenues. You subtract that from our total expenditures of 441,000, leaves a deficit. And again, as I mentioned to the finance committee, this is par for the course in public education, where your months, many months, and I will, in fact, I will say that with July having no revenues, August having no revenues, a small amount of revenues, I should say, it's very natural for you to be upside down or operate in the negative or in the red for a great portion of the first half of the fiscal year. And in fact, for a school that's relatively brand new, you can expect to see this, for most of the year in terms of how your revenues and funding flows to the school in such an inconsistent way, but yet your expenditures obviously will remain consistent, and if not increase over the course of that time. Down here, just looking at the monthly cash flow, you can see where beginning cash was at the end of September, and where we began in August, and where that balance is as a result of that. Take a look at the balance sheet really quick. And again, all these have been discussed at the finance level, so I won't go into much details here. Total assets of $729,000. Great majority of that is cash of $711,000 in our operating account. You can see here we have about 1.1 million in liabilities. Again, most of that is in receivable sales. We have accounts payable there and accrued salaries as well. And obviously we're deferring most of the, we're recognizing we've posted, I should say, the after school program. The bulk of that revenue goes into unearned income. And obviously, as I mentioned to the finance committee, the moving parts here will be that we'll recognize this. We'll spread this out throughout the course of the year, but obviously we wanted to make sure that we recognize some of those expenditures first, and we'll recognize a portion of this 379,478. All in all, again, as I mentioned, you can see where the school started in terms of your net position, where we currently are here. Obviously this is a deficit of 380,000. Again, as I mentioned, this is par for the course because you're just really getting started 2 months ago. So it's perfectly normal to have your financials display a deficit or operate in the red. Last but not least, this is the check register, and I will be bringing this monthly. And again, these things will be discussed at the finance level. If board members have questions, comments, or concerns regarding any of these documents, including the check register, feel free to reach out to the school administration or to me directly if you so choose to go that route. Most of you have my email. If not, you can get that from the school administration or from Ethan on the finance committee. I won't dive into much details here, but again, you can see the activities in terms of checks being written throughout the course of the month. I'll just sort of give you a bottom line number here. And again, as I mentioned, the school has been busy, and this is the result of that. In terms of what you're seeing here, roughly 222,000 in checks were written during the month of August. And again, that's all ramping up, in terms of opening the doors, et cetera, and things like that. I'll take any questions that the board may have on the August financials.
Just a question, Delano. This is Brad. On the revenue side, I see you showed the 140K. I presume that's from the K Family Foundation. What about the donations from, let's say, Dr. Scott or from the Helen and Hogue Foundation?
So the Helen, and is it Helen and Larry?
Larry and Helen Hogue Foundation.
Yeah, Larry and Helen, sorry. That one, I believe we got that in early part of September. So you will not see that reflected here because these financials are through August. So, and we have not closed September yet. So that will show up in the next report that we bring to the board. And there was another question regarding
Dr. Scott's donations as well. Would those have been reflected?
In regards to Dr. Scott's donation, I think we may want to separate those into a couple of different categories. And maybe that's something we discuss at the finance level, at the finance committee level. I believe he did make a donation in September again for, I believe it was $10,000. I could be mistaken, but I believe it was somewhere in that ballpark.
It was 11,000.
Thank you. Yeah, only off by, thank you. 11,000, I stand corrected. And that will be reflected in the September financials when we bring those.
Okay. Thanks.
All righty, so we'll stop sharing this one. And I believe I do have another agenda item, which is the budget. Mr. President, would you like me to go ahead and present that?
Yeah, yes, please. Especially, summary level appropriate for our audience.
Yes, absolutely. And allow me to share one more time.
Go ahead, Delano.
Thank you. All righty. And again, this was vetted at the finance level. We spent quite a bit of time in conversations discussing this, and obviously this has been a work in progress, right? So it's, this budget has been in the works and in development, not only when you submitted your charter petition, but also, since that time, and a lot has gone into this. Obviously, there's so many moving parts with staffing, which is one of the biggest pieces here, in terms of making sure that we complete the roster in terms of hiring the appropriate staff, et cetera. Obviously, there are a tremendous amount, some amounts of unknowns here with expenditures, right? This is our first year of operation, so it's really difficult to gauge certain expenditures because there simply isn't a frame of reference. We can certainly use our professional judgments, things like that. But again, we try to put our best estimates here and then be as conservative as we can be, but yet at the same time offer some amount of flexibility for school in this first year. Because again, there's certain amounts of unknowns that we sort of have to plan for, and certain contingencies as well that, just in case they arise. I give you a classic example, God forbid that this happens, but if there's another shutdown or have to make some adjustments to school attendance and things like that, we quickly have to be able to shift and plan for that, or have that plan in place. This budget is based upon, and I'll make this a little bit bigger, forgive me. This budget is based on an attendance of an enrollment, of 346 students. And again, this number here I picked at a particular moment in time. This was as of a few Fridays ago that we were at this number. This could have changed upwards or maybe downwards a little bit, but for the purpose of this conversation, we're at 346 enrollment with an attendance rate of conservatively here, 95%, yields about 328.7 ADA. And ADA is average daily attendance. That is the number that you will be funded on in April when your enrollment is officially certified. Won't go into much of the dirty details here in terms of some of these demographic numbers down here, but I will just quickly show you some of the highlights in terms of someone mentioned grants and things like that earlier. The school is in line to receive roughly $600,000 from the Public Charter Schools Grant Program. What you're seeing here is that amount budgeted over the course of the next 3 years. It could be, in fact, that we expense all of that in the next 2 years, depending. It's a reimbursement grant, so it's one of those where you have to spend money in order to get reimbursed for it. So depending on our cash position, obviously, that may dictate some of this, but at the same time, we know that we have to get the school up and running, and this grant was designed specifically for that. You can see the rates for in lieu of taxes. And again, this is probably the biggest stream of your revenues, is the local property tax that you get from Irvine Unified School District for those students who reside in the boundaries of Irvine Unified School District. Lottery rates are here, your special education rates are here as well, and then the rest are your EPA and LCFF amounts. Talk about staffing really quickly. 17 and a half certificated staff. You can see the breakdown here, 14 teachers, 2 certificated administrations, and then another 1.5 FTE in other certificated staffing. So 17.5 FTEs there, another 25 FTEs on your classified side in terms of support staff. Brings the total to 42.5 FTEs overall. Salaries, as you can see here, 1.4 million for your teachers and administrators, another $986,000 down here for support. The rest of these are just outward projections in terms of what potentially could be salaries and expenditures related to personnel next year. Benefits are associated with this, and you can see here retirement, health and welfare benefits, unemployment, workers' comp, et cetera. Those are pretty much par for the course in terms of those fixed costs. I'll bottom line this for you a little bit here in terms of some of the details. And again, this has been vetted by the board, the finance committee already. And we talked about some of the costs related to budgeting for the startup. I would consider this a startup year for you because you're just getting underway. You can see what we have budgeted for books and supplies and materials and supplies. Most of this is classroom related and or technology related as well, 314,000. On the operational side, 755,000. Operational side is a big bucket, right? It consists of everything from consultants to insurance, property and liability, obviously, a special education services. If you're having consultants do that as well. So that's a pretty broad category. That there is 755,000. We have depreciation expense of about 10,000. We have a special encroachment here of about 12,000. That's just a fee for LACO, the Los Angeles County Office of Education, which is the SELPA for Irvine International. Bottom line in this year, net income subtracting from our revenues leaves us with roughly 67,000 in net income for the year. And again, this is about par for the course, considering the contingencies that I mentioned, how conservative we are in certain areas. Obviously, if there is significant events that occur between now and say January that would require budget revision, we certainly will do that. We will continue to monitor the progress of this budget versus our actuals on a monthly basis, and certainly we'll adjust as the need arise. Beyond this page here, most of this again is just a cash flow with a balance sheet, and again, these are all estimates, none of these are finals. And then beyond that, we'll just have the annual yearly cash flow by years, just sort of laying out what we anticipate in terms of what the budgeted cash ending balances will be month over month as well. So that is, the long and short of the budget itself. We're asking for an approval on this. Your authorizers certainly will want to have a copy of an approved budget now that school has started. And obviously this will be the budget that we will continue to use. This will be inputted into our financial system. This will be the tool that we'll use to sort of compare our actuals versus our budget, things like that, sort of give us a little bit more detail in how we're performing month over month. I know I said a lot there. I'll take any questions or comments if you guys have any outside of the finance committee who's already, seeing this budget last week.
Give the board members an opportunity. If not, Ethan has at least one more item on the finance committee update. We're going to do the approval of the budget in item D under our board action items. We'll actually do our motion at that time, but any comments or questions from board members from Delano's presentation before Ethan continues?
This is Edward Watson. How much wiggle room is in that budget? Like, what if something comes up, or say we want to hire more people, or we need to, I know this first year is sort of, it feels like it's pretty tight, I'm guessing. So I guess that's sort of my question is there any room for some small changes?
Mm-hmm. Well, Ethan, I'm sorry, Edward, great question. And I'm glad you asked that. We did have that conversation at the finance committee level. Obviously in your first year, the needs are always greater than the resources, right? I think it's safe to say that across the board. And it's not just in your first year either, but especially in your first year when resources are very, very limited. We built a budget that is, we can survive on this budget. There is some amount of wiggle room in here. Obviously, the out years are a little bit more flexible in terms of that wiggle, but the school should be able, the school can, not should, the school can and will survive, on this budget, even with certain unknowns come into fruition, right? We don't know what the future brings per se, but I think we have a contingency in place that will keep us floating in operations. If something major happens this year. And something I'm thinking is, if there's another shutdown and you have to go to distance learning again, things like that, that could be more resources, because now you have to sort of, have technology for all your students and your staff, et cetera, things like that. But there's plenty, there's room in here. And again, it's the first year, so, it's not going to be like it will be in year 3 or 4, where there'll be plenty of wiggle. But in the first year, there's enough for this thing to survive and thrive.
Thank you, Edward. Ethan, would you like to continue on? I know you have at least one more item.
Yes, let me, this is Ethan again, thank you. This is regarding there were some questions regarding some of the relationship between IIA, Wonder Kids, and OCMD. Now, the scope of the Finance Committee is not to evaluate the value proposition. It is right now to understand what is the treasury flow? Where is money flowing to? Now, there's other operational, there are other education related issues that parents have also addressed during this board meeting today and in the past as well. But we focused strictly on where is money moving towards. And just like to report, there was some confusion. But we took the time to really clarify. I've spent time talking to different individuals to understand where things are, how money's moving. I believe at this point, it's right now from an after schools perspective, there has been no money being remitted from IIA/Wonder Kids to OCMD. Now, again, there's still going to be confusion about why there are multiple payments, how to communicate it. Therefore, another subcommittee or committee will be addressing the education component, and that will be discussed by the board. But at this point, the investigation is understanding where there are the reconciliation of various contracts, the different parties, and where money is moving towards. And so we spend quite a bit of time to investigate that.
Thank you. And a 6-page document was written that supports part of that, and that'll be made available as well. So thank you. There's one other, Ethan, I think there was there a decision on the Finance Committee to add a parent in the future that maybe have some particular interest, availability, and expertise?
Yes, I did mention that, and I'm sorry, I kind of glanced right, I rolled it right into my same sentence for the Lano's presentation. But yes, the Finance Committee would like to add another member to the committee, preferably be a parent, and we'll be as a finance chair, I will be working with Shishong, the head of the PTO, to identify candidate. And once we have the Finance Committee has identified a right candidate, we will present to the board for approval.
Oh, thank you. Great foresight. And thank you for hearing over the last couple of meetings, parents who have said, hey, how about parent representation in lots of areas? And that when I gave the 2 thumbs up to Dr. Steve, I just knew that we would hear at least twice in this board meeting about those opportunities to plug parents in, especially with their great expertise as well. So thank you.
Sorry, Doug, this is Edward. I just wanted to say, I think I saw this on the agenda. I guess we're bringing it up now. I couldn't remember when it was supposed to be brought up, but I just think this was in reference to something I had raised previously outside of a board meeting of having another parent on the board. So I just wanted to sort of connect those 2 things, because it appears that there's a potential, or at least raise the potentiality of having another parent on the board, and or having parents who have expertise in certain areas able to contribute their expertise with being a part of this finance committee. But I'm not sure what that would look like, and maybe you guys aren't sure what it would look like yet. But if you are, I mean, how would that work? I'm sure parents would want to know that. How would that work? And who, you know, can be on the committee, who you're looking for? Is that something that we're going to push to the next board meeting?
I'm going to bifurcate it a little bit. Yeah, we're going to have a greater discussion next board meeting about the board. That'll give our board governance time to consider that question. Is this the right time to add an 8th board member? So we'll hear from them and then discuss as a board. On the other, they're moving forward already on these committees. Committees are not bound. They can go ahead and start evaluating candidates for the 2 committees. So, but you were the one that initiated it. Then it got fulfilled at the committee level first. We still haven't looked at the board adding the 8th board member. But
I think also, sorry, Doug, I think also when you present those updated bylaws and everything that you mentioned earlier in this meeting, that will help clarify some things about adding people to the board and or potentially to committees. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And I think during our board meeting, I came up with a pretty good idea of how to quickly make this information available to everyone. As you know, as board members, you have a virtual binder online, which has all of the documents related to policy and historical documents like bylaws, et cetera. I looked at that again, and I don't think there's going to be any reason we can't share that link with all parents on the website or anyone who wants to see. So won't have it in a beautiful format, but we'll have it instantly available to everybody. Ethan, go ahead.
I have one more issue to bring up. It was presented, the finance committee also did spend some time to review a document that was brought up. It was known as the QSR. I have to admit, there's more acronyms than the military. And working through all the acronyms, there was initially, and to summarize it, there was a potential issue between then, last Tuesday, and today. It has been, from what I understand, been resolved, and it's been, and so that issue has been resolved. So
thank you. Yeah.
So it's no longer an issue.
Thank you. Moving on now to our action items. One was item A, and I'm going to ask for some discussion on the what's listed as approval of epicenter documents to be sent to OCDE, Orange County Department of Education. If I'm correct, Michael, this is the 6-page document that explains our historical relationship or after-school program with Orange County Music and Dance. Is that the document?
Mary Beth probably would know that answer even better, but I believe it is.
Yeah, the word epicenter is what threw me off just a little bit, but I knew that item 1 was going to be that answer. What emerged was a couple of questions over time about payments. We kind of discussed that, what our relationship with Orange County Music and Dance was. So there's a beautiful 6-page document. It'll also get posted up into that area. And board members have seen our response to our oversight group. The summary from my perspective, board members, was this. At one point, we believe we would contract with a provider beyond the Mandarin and English training we would do after school for music and dance. But because of our lease, our landlord, Irvine Unified, requires us to have employees teaching in the after-school program. So that's where we had a historical shift. As soon as we were approved for our lease, we saw that requirement. We had to change and not contract for services. We had to employ those services. So that's the document we're sending over. Questions or discussion on that or the history of our after-school program? We've all been evaluating it pretty thoroughly. Could I have a motion then to approve the sending of that document over to Orange County Department of Education.
Yeah, Doug, I motion it.
Thank you, Glenn. A second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Brett. All in favor then signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, we'll go ahead and send that. Well written, by the way, and thanks for the help from Orange County Music and Dance and our collaboration together as a team. We'll post that one up under documents on that shared site as well. So parents, if you're curious about our history, you can read that. It'll be stored in the documents. It's technically says other documents folder. That's where it'll land. Item 2 is approval of 3 policies. We can talk about them. I don't know that we will have to. There's a staff and student interaction policy. Every school has one. This is developed by Dr. Scott, Principal Chung, from their experience. There's a student family handbook, which is a policy document as well, developed by them. Then a uniform complaint policies and procedure that helps all of us, both staff and board, written by the charter schools organization that's coached us along the entire journey. They have a beautiful document developed in 2018 that we sent over to everybody that just tells us how do we respond to complaints, whether they're internal or they come external. Yeah, and so we're looking at those 3 as becoming our policies. Let's take a minute, see if there's any questions or discussion. I'd like to do them as a batch, but if we need to do them separate as a motion, we can. Let's see if there's really much discussion on those. Any discussion on the staff student interaction policy that was developed, or comments from Principal Chung or Dr. Scott, if you want to elaborate, either board members or staff. Okay. How about student family handbook? Any comments from board members or Dr. Scott or Principal Chung or Dr. Scott, comment?
No, these are tried and true policies through our lawyers. They're also based in documents of other charter schools that are part of Orange County Department of Education. We're really glad to have good relationships with many schools. And they're wonderful documents. They're very clear.
They've been helpful to a lot of schools for many years, and we get the advantage of these now customized to our situation. How about then everybody staff, uniform complaint policies and procedures? This was a welcome to me because I don't consider every issue that arises a complaint, but some are truly complaints, and we have to have a uniform way internally on our staff to deal with any complaints that arise. And certainly as a board, we're now formulating our accountability in building that trust with our parents. So board members, any thoughts about uniform complaint policies, procedures?
Just a question. I certainly can appreciate leveraging what others have done. If the board approves it, then this all gets put on sort of the IIA letterhead. Is that right? We internalize it and make it our own documentation rather than, we're not planning to keep the current format.
Thank you for suggesting that. Yeah, so we would, if we're going to approve this, we would ask Dr. Scott to do just as you said, to take it from its generic format and put it on IIA letterhead, so it is completely ours. Yeah.
And Doug, some of these documents come from Young Minnie and Core, and they look at the latest legal opinions and decisions, and they adapt the document literally every other year to meet the requirements. And then we customize it for ourselves as far as names.
Thank you. No, I think that's important too. Great. Well, with this, then I batched them together as an action item that we approve the new staff student interaction policy, family handbook, and uniform complaint policy and procedure. I'll make the motion that we adopt these new policies with the customization described by Brett Freeman. Would someone like to second that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Brett. All in favor then signify by signifying aye. Aye. Any nays? Okay, we have those approved then. Next action items, one we do fairly regularly. It's the approval of the charter school revolving loan fund program. It keeps our credit available with our charter school loan company. And so I think you each got a copy of it earlier. We're doing really well. We're not using every dollar, obviously. And when we receive a no interest loan from the state of California, we will tend to use that and not this, even though it's a very good interest rate. Because if we can get and use money till our ADA comes in at no interest, we'll do that. But this is a rather regular approval we'll need to do. I've already read it, and since I'm the one that originally signed on for this line of credit, I'll make the motion that we approve the current revision to the charter school revolving loan fund program. Would there be a second following?
Okay, second it.
Thank you, Ethan. Okay. And then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, we have that approved then. Item C, okay, this one may take some, I received a board member comment that maybe this is too quick to decide today, but let's have the discussion at least quickly. I don't want to go into overall detail, but Michael Scott or Principal Chung, could you tell us about the need for these Chromebooks? And a question arose that, is this premature? Should we ask you to first seek bids before coming to the board? Let's deal with the quick one. What's the overall need for these 34 Chromebook sets that'll go, I think, in 3 sets, totaling 102?
Okay. The Chromebooks will allow our students to have internet access and to do other work. There is another assessment program that we'll be signing up for called Renaissance Star. So the beginning assessment in the school year is real important because it gives you your baseline. You find your students where they're at, who's going to need more help, who's advanced. We haven't had the opportunity to do that, and we need to. The Chromebooks will be the method to get online. Secondly, the Chromebooks are used for state testing later in the year. So everything's become computerized. 2nd grade through 5th grade will be taking the state test. Chromebooks will be helpful there. That's the main emphasis. We need enough Chromebooks for the classes to use to become familiar with. They're going to be doing Twig Science using their internet site through the Chromebooks as well. The carts allow 3 sets to be pushed around to the room that they're needed in, plus to be locked up separately from just the general open keys that are involved and charged in those carts. If the board wants to wait, that's okay. What I was hoping for, we do have 3 bids.
We do.
We do.
Okay.
And the top bid is 38,000 and the rest are below that. But they were quick bids. And I would like to, I was hoping that we'd say, okay, here's our maximum amount. How much can you save us? The reason is the COVID has changed the electronic industry. We found that we had ordered some laptops for the teachers, but couldn't pay for them immediately. We didn't have the funding. By the time we could pay for them, we settled for a lesser computer, $8,000 more. So time is not in our favor, but I'm happy to wait. It's not.
Let's hear some more discussion. Ethan, hear from you, then Glenn, then Edward, and let's kind of go in that order, and then Brett.
My question is right now, is it imperative the students need the Chromebooks ASAP? That's my question.
I believe it is necessary. We need the assessments now to do a better job in our teaching.
Thank you. Edward, how about,
Yeah, I have something I'd like to, I mean, I think it probably is pretty necessary to get the Chromebooks because I know that it is going to be used for state tests further down in the line. But I guess my question is, so yeah, I do think we need to try and get them as soon as we can. My question is, you mentioned 3 bids, but I don't know any details about, I think I saw in an email of one bid. So I don't know any details about like the total cost. Like, what did you just say? 38,000, was that it? Or the total cost, and then who the bids were from. And yeah, I guess more details on that. But I do think we need to try and get them sooner than later.
let's keep going to Glenn, how about you? What are your thoughts? And I know you have a background in technology.
Yeah, I guess what I saw was on a couple of the bids, right? Some of them were not like for like, right? So I think we just need to strengthen those 3 bids and make them like for like so they're same hard drives, right? You get the same bid across. And then we should reach out to a couple different vendors, right? Best Buy, a couple other vendors that deal specifically with schools and just get a number of bids beyond 3, right? Because it's a $38,000 expenditure. I'd like to make sure we're getting in the best deal we can to save the right dollars. But I get it. We need the Chromebooks. We need to do the testing. But let's spend a few more weeks just trying to get the diligence right and then bring it back to the next board meeting. Will that work, Michael, or is that too late?
Of course, it'll work. If we're able to firm up a real deal, maybe we could do a board meeting before next month. Again, the COVID changes everything in the computer industry. It's completely changed it all around.
Yeah, not just computers, just a lot of things with shipping and large purchases, as you know, with the textbooks. But potentially we could have, you know, a board, what is it, 2 or 3 days? I think we could do a board meeting with a 2 or 3 day notice just to approve the bids after you've looked through a couple, and that way we can get the Chromebooks a little faster because it has to do with learning. And I think whatever we can do to make sure that the students are able, given the opportunity to perform at the best of their ability would be helpful.
Yeah, Michael, would help if we can get them just summarized into a table for us against all 3 vendors, what the costs are, their warranties, what the specs of the machines, and then again, with Edward's suggestion, we can get a quick meeting done in 2 weeks if we have to come back.
Yeah, our staff has done a good job in pulling these up. I know where to look. I agree. We need to try Best Buy, some other sources, and get our best prices.
Okay.
Fred, any other thoughts from you? I kind of hearing a move forward.
I agree with tabling it for tonight and just putting together, get visibility on this. To me, it's meaningful. It's $30,000+, and if we could save a couple grand, that's meaningful. So, and I think it's worth a few extra days of work to be able to achieve the best quote unquote value for IIA.
And Doug, one thing, this comes about, our ability to buy this is because of the federal grant that we received. These are the kind of one-time purchases they pay for a new school.
So they're reimbursable, yeah. I think our board would commit then, Michael, when you come up with that bid comparison, we'll set the date for a special meeting to be the whole agenda item.
Good. And
Stephen, in 3 days.
Stephen Schwong has done a great job on our technology for the school so far, and I'll be asking him to solidify a better solution for bids. I had the fortunate time to talk to one of our parents that's also an educator and saw this need, try to get something to you as quickly as possible to begin the discussion so we could move forward. And I'm grateful for Steve. He's done a lot of our technology purchases so far.
He wears a few hats and he's really good with technology. Grateful for our principal. Well, let's that'll be our move forward on that. There's no action to take. Item D is the approval of the budget that was presented first and worked on by the committee and then shared publicly by Athena and Delano Jones. Could I have a motion to approve the budget as we've received it then?
A motion.
Okay, Glenn is first, Ethan second on that. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And any nays? Great. I'll post that up.
I just have one comment to make.
Yes, go ahead, Ethan.
Joey, Doug, I have to say, Delano has been absolutely wonderful to work with. Detailed, walks us through. We understand, we're starting to understand the vocabulary, and it's been very well thought through and helped guide us in the finance committee.
I second that.
Yeah, thank you for those positive comments on our partner. I feel the same way. Great. And I'll post that up in our shared area. That way, when we link to it from our website, any parent can look at that budget in detail. And again, it can change during the school year as we make it through, but only with board approval. But the finance committee will be at it monthly. Great. That brings us to item E, our final before any board recommendations by board members for our superintendent. Topic is looks like it's discussion transitional kinder for 2022-2023 year. Is that your item, Dr. Scott?
It is, and it is for discussion. I'd like to have a better understanding of where to go forward. Transitional kindergarten is becoming a big item by the current administration to encourage children to start younger and younger in school. However, there is an advantage of learning when a person is ready to learn, which is sometimes not the same age. This partially deals too with the growth of our school. Kindergarten next year will be 4 classes, 1 TK class that moves up. By the way, I was surprised we only had 1 TK class. I thought we would have a lot, but we didn't. So we'll have 1 TK coming up to kindergarten and 3 open classes for 96 more students to join. And our kindergarten will push up 4 classes into first grade. So we'll be adding 1 more first grade class of 32 students. Most, like we're getting 100% feedback from our kindergarten and TK and first grades of moving with the school, moving forward. So this 4 classroom group pushes forward in the school. And our school is capable of holding 710 students. So next year, we're adding at least 4 classes if it's just kindergarten, starting at kindergarten. This will allow us to adapt the school for more years if we begin with kindergarten and not TK. We have a great facility. I'd just like to discuss that. My recommendation at this point is to consider us beginning at kindergarten with 5-year-olds and not with 4-year-olds. Even though I personally have a grandchild that is started in TK at 4, he just turned 5 and he's doing well. So it's also a viable option for kids to get earlier into Mandarin as they go into kindergarten.
I wonder if there's probably a handful of questions that arise that need some research probably. Is this, by the way, the kind of consideration the board might charter if we had a curriculum committee? Is this the kind of thing a curriculum committee might work on?
Yes, deciding if the merits of TK and the merit of starting with kindergarten. Sure.
Okay. I think maybe that might be an impetus for us to form a curriculum committee. We can talk about it as a board governance committee, but that might be really the discussion at this moment is, how do our board members feel about pursuing that, just in the same way we started up a finance committee that's now operational after 2.5 months and such. But because I think I don't mind getting the summary from a committee, but I don't know that I want to take the total dive in to get into all the considerations for TK versus kinder. But I bet we have some board members that would like to, and there might even be a parent or two that would desire to be part of a curriculum committee. Board members, what's your thinking? Is that a better way forward on this question?
I agree with you, Doug.
Yeah, I've spoken with some people before about doing it, and I think it's something I would lend my expertise to a curriculum committee. Also can look at for ways to improve the rigor of the classroom, and to help the teachers. We've had some parents mention that earlier in this meeting about teacher assistants and aides and those things. So yeah, TK and kindergarten would fall under that purview, which I'd be more than happy to be a part of.
Okay.
Right, you feel the same way?
I agree. I think that would be excellent. I question, when does a decision need to be made on this?
Good question. We are going to submit a revision to our petition, more in line with adding 7th and 8th grade as a middle school for the future. So we'll be ready when our classes continue to move up. On the other end, it'd be a great committee to discuss the beginning of the school. So the petition is going to be rewritten. I did have a timetable in place of December beginning to have the first revision done, and then we can add this to the petition as well. But that's just on the question of transitional kindergarten. Rigor that Edward mentioned is something we can implement right away. Again, that's one of the reasons for the Chromebook, so we can access more materials online. I really believe in a lot of interaction and talking in a dual immersion school. However, there's other materials available for the kids to do supplemental work. That's where the committee can help us find where we need to go.
Okay. For the formation of a curriculum committee, is that something that already exists within our broad charter for the formation of that? And what, in your mind, what it would be a kind of a time frame? Would you want to get that beginning right away? Should I do some surveying of board members and PTO for candidates for that?
That's a great suggestion. I did talk to one parent of our school, Dr. Vo, and he said he would serve on the committee.
Okay.
I would like the board needs to approve the committee first off and then approve the members. We can still implement more rigor, more training now. If the board would like to pull together who they'd like to see on the committee and some parents that would like to join that committee to help us in implementing a better school.
I'll start the process of surveying after this meeting the board members and see if we get a core committee interest. Then at our special meeting that we'll have, when we approve the Chromebooks, we can make that our second agenda item. So, you know, there's a way to at least have the beginning of a curriculum committee, and that gives us the structure then to build rigor. Then when it's time, make decisions, or at least bring decisions before the board about TK next year. Good. That takes us through our board action items. Item before adjournment, any board recommendations, things you'd like for our superintendent to be considering and to have on his mind at this time? Also opportunity to praise him for things. I oftentimes forget that, but thank you. I'll just say for the tireless work. I don't miss the fact that some of my emails from you, Mary Beth, or Principal Chung come at late hours. So I know that you are exercising amazing care and diligence and effort in this. So thank you. But board members, questions or direction you want to give Dr. Scott before we ask for an adjournment?
I just wanted to say, as a board member, as a parent, I just wanted to thank Dr. Scott and Principal Chuang and all the parents and the volunteer parents in the classroom. It's been a real treat to have our daughter part of the school. I've noticed improvements myself, and I see a lot more structure, especially with following the COVID protocols, lining up. It was raining the other day. It was a lot more organized than the prior days when it's rained. So I see vast amounts of improvement, and I just want to congratulate all of you guys on making those efforts to really make IIA the school that we all hope that it will continue to strive to be.
Thank you, Brett. Ethan, final comments and or board recommendation for Dr. Scott?
I have to say, you know, after reviewing the budget in depth and really being part of the, you know, just assisting with the process to understand where the money's flowing towards, you know, there was confusion initially, but things are starting to stabilize and become more clear so that we all understand what issues need to work on. I have to commend right now the hard work by everyone to get this school up. This has been no small feat. A lot of us said over and over again, in which I completely agree, you know, to have a school that has 300 plus students out of the gate enrolled is spectacular. But we need to maintain it. And, you know, Mike, we look to you as well as the board members and all the parents and everybody involved to, I look forward to be working with the PTO on certain aspects from the finance committee, but we just need to keep this high energy, but more orderly process. It's timely and now orderly. So thank you all.
Thank you. Great recommendation. Edward or Glenn?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Doug.
Okay.
Yeah, and I echo some of the things that Brett had mentioned earlier.
Wonderful. Well, I too want to say thank you for the parent participation. This is honestly unprecedented. Dozens and dozens of parents participating in this. And I know it's been a little bit different and limited in the parent input all being at the front end, but so appreciated and just wonderful. Last for,
Doug?
Oh, sorry, I missed something.
I'm sorry, Doug, this is a parent here. I just want to ask one quick question real quick. I know that like you're saying, that we didn't have time to have comments at the end like last time. I noticed that this time we had 60 plus participants. Last time we had over 50. I'm just wondering if the board would consider having some type of town hall at some point, just so we can all discuss other things that we've asked. I worry that there might be people who didn't get a chance tonight. That's all, just that the board can consider that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edwin. Yeah, we'll take that under consideration too. I can envision that in my mind a little bit too. Oh, great. Well, privilege to be with everybody tonight. Could I invite a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
I motion.
Oh, good. We got, I'm going to put Glenn on the.
I want to get in the box scores.
Edward, yeah, Edward got right on that for a second. All in favor to adjourn, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we are adjourned. We can end the recording.